Yesterday's conspiracy theories, tomorrow's headlines. Most are still asleep and I ain't talking about no bedtime. The truth is not a Google search, you need to get your head right. The Greek goddess of illusion was called Media, and I'm not a coincidence theorist, I look for thread lines. Smashing every deadline, no longer smashing red wine. Though I can hear the bells chime, it feels like the end times. That probably should have been smashed on red wine, but the carnal mind is foolish. Obey and end up ghoulish. Don't get used by instinct, take control and learn to use it. Make a load of earnest music, earn a few quid, learn a few tricks. Sure, the truth is persecuted, this whole world is pure abusive. Know a bit about everything and everything about nothing. Figured out my noggin while you picture out shopping. You sit about watching while I dish it out, stop it. I don't mean to sound cocky, I'm not even proud of it. It's a second nature to me, just a minute out honest. I don't even need to sound honest, never been about profit. Everything but out on it, you can bet your house on it. Doubt I'll be out for the count when the sounds, and I'm down for the beat, no beat down. I mean, how long's it been? Help me out. I've been the only one who's held me down. All in the mind, hell freeze now. Still sick with it, healthy how? A few bars down and the world freaked out. I don't reach out, I seek out to speak out. I'ma recount the reasons they be out. I am not the way, no way. I have seen the way. Speak, repeat, there's no way.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 509 Divine Pines podcast. This is your episode 258. It is October 30th, 2025, and we are riding mighty fine through reality tonight with Simeon Hein, helping you guys realize how to align the vibe. Yes, so happy Halloween, I guess. I don't really like the word because it's kind of like based on that demonic worship of, I forgot the name, but I know exactly where it comes from. It's should be a celebratory week of the dead or the week of the spirits, and I believe that more than this jack-o'-lantern Halloween stuff. And so I guess happy week of the dead, right? Well, guys, if you guys could please like, subscribe, and share. Tell everybody around that this is going down, man. You guys know this is the Pacific Northwest #1 show. We offer truth, vibes, and love, man. That's what we got here. And first and foremost, if you guys could please go over to Shop C60 and get the Nobel Prize winning C60 supplement. Oh man, it is the best. I mean it gets me energized. It gets my dogs happy, too happy. I'll be real. They're too much of a handful sometimes, but they're healthy, and that's what we really want here. So if you guys could go over to Shop C60, it is world's best antioxidant. I'm saying that myself. Please, FDA, don't sue me. But literally, guys, I mean this wholeheartedly. You guys know I always stick to organics. I always stick to fresh and natural stuff, clean, powerful stuff, and C60 is where it's at. I've been using it for years, and if everybody wants to know how my skin is so healthy and everything, it's because I use C60's anti-aging serum. It's actually brand new, formulated with copper in it and C60, so they're having double the benefit. If you guys could use coupon code 509 Divine Pines, and thank you guys for being here. I have Simeon Hein, who is constantly opening minds. I just don't mean to rhyme today. Like, it's just, I don't know why. I'm just rhyming. This was by far one of the coolest books that I've read. So if you guys want to read this, it is a journey of extraordinary encounters, crop circles, and resonance. It literally will change your vibe. It will resonate with you if you open your mind. Literally, like, so I pulled some things from it, like how to realize that there's an algorithm currently in reality, how to shift our perception, and honestly, guys, just go follow Simeon Hein on YouTube and buy his books. I mean it is worth it. Simon, welcome for being here, brother. You're amazing every time you're here, man. If you could, just for all my new viewers out there, since I have been doing all sorts of different platforms, tell them about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from the East Coast. Back when I was around 12 or 13, my mom took me down to the Everglades for bird watching. We saw a UFO over the marshes there, and it was pretty close over our head. It was so close, I thought it was like the full moon. That's how big it was. and we saw it with binoculars. We could see structure. It was round, and it started to move once we started looking at it. And I think that
What color was it?
it was greenish. It was a greenish, glowing, amorphous object. But once we used our binocs, you could see a pattern of dots on the bottom. So it looked amorphous and solid at the same time. It wasn't like anything I'd ever seen before. It kind of reminded me of a cloud, but it was perfectly circular, but it had dots in it. And then you would have thought, well, maybe it's just a weather balloon or something. I don't know. No, because as soon as we started looking at it with binoculars, within about 10 seconds, it took off into a cloud. It was at the same height as the cloud. I mean, it just started from no movement to rapid movement into that cloud. And then there was a blackout. We went to the ranger talk that night. The ranger said, did anybody see anything interesting today? So my mom raises her hand. We're sitting in the front row. And the people next to us, by the way, on the bench had seen the object too. And my mom says, we saw a UFO. And the ranger said, oh, that's interesting. Did anybody else see anything today? They went, oh, yeah, right. That was my reaction too, Joseph. Like, this is kind of lame. Like, she's just wants to not talk about this. And my mom was ticked. So at the end of the talk, which, by the way, was in the dark because there was no slideshow because there was no power, my mom goes up again and said, we really did see a UFO. And the ranger was like, that's interesting. My mom said, well, look, it's a blackout. She goes, well, that happens all the time. And so I think I learned at a young age that you can't count on authority to tell you the truth about something like this. And maybe it got me interested in it ever since then. My mom, that's when they zapped you.
I would call that quasi-dimensional. I believe that there's a term quasi-dimensional in which it's able to seem physical, but also shift into another type of dimension.
Yeah. I think that's a good name for it because to this day, I've never seen anything quite like it. It's sort of there and sort of not there. I don't know how to describe it. It looks blurry. It looked blurry, but then the dots looked solid and they formed almost like a Z. Like Zeta Reticuli or something at the bottom. Not quite, but you could see a Z shape to it. Weird. And I guess, as my mom said, they zapped me. I mean, ever since then, I had an interest in the topic. Now, Joseph, it wasn't something I pursued. I let it go for a long time, but it kept popping up in my life all the way through my PhD at WSU in Pullman in your state. In the 90s. And
you were in the best state in the 90s too. This was the place.
It was a great place to be. Yeah. I had a lot of great times
when
in
Seattle
Washington.
Was clean.
Yeah, I remember taking the breaks in Seattle and you could drive through Seattle and
beautiful.
Traffic wasn't that bad and it felt very safe and it just felt very clean.
It was
safe.
Blooming. Yeah. It was. Yeah, now it's like
it was
on
a
the
real
downgrade.
interesting town. I haven't seen it very much since then. I guess
you do not want to go, dude. I went to Seattle and Portland over the last year and a half. Yeah. Man, bro, I feel weird. I feel the energy going downward, spiraling downward. I feel something pulling me, and I know it's not friendly. To think back at the first UFO sighting, do you believe that possibly it sparked this intuition or this pineal gland spark or like this pursuit to the Akashic, to the ether?
Well, Joseph, I think what we're going to find out over the next coming years and decades is that we've been around another reality the whole time, and our culture had this superstition about it. So we push it away. We call it paranormal and we don't talk about it, but people have these experiences, right? And it's in our collective consciousness, but it's not something we generally discuss in public. It is changing, as you can see with these congressional hearings and these so-called drone sightings that are happening all over the place, other countries, our own military bases, New Jersey. I saw one when going through New Jersey last December, just
one of the drones. Yeah, there was a Army research base. Just I think over the last month or something, they admitted that the FAA allowed them to test these drones to actually perceive the public's, to see what the public thought for the future.
Well, that's well, we'll
So
get to that. We'll get to that in a second. I
yeah.
think what we're gonna. I just want to say one thing about where I grew up. I grew up in the Hudson Valley,
Ooh.
and the Hudson Valley is known for the Hudson Valley Triangle. I mean, all those sightings in the 80s before you were around, but in the 80s and starting the late 70s, there were these huge dark triangles seen up and down the Hudson Valley, over to Connecticut, New Jersey. And I interviewed someone from my high school who actually saw it in 79 with the wrestling team, Vinny. It's on my YouTube channel. And when I talked to Vinny, he described with the wrestling team coming out of Mamaroneck High School, seeing this black triangle hovering over the gym. And it took off as soon as some jets came, military jets came after it. F-86s or something like this. This is Vietnam era.
I saw that video. I saw the video of the jets behind the black triangle. There's a video of they're escorting it. There's one of us, yes, escorting above a river, and the guy's looking up. He's like, "Holy shit!" And yeah, the black triangle is being escorted by helicopters.
Like that. And Joseph, nobody in my class talked about it. I knew some of those kids on the wrestling team. I wasn't on the wrestling team. I was on the debate team, but whatever. I knew some of the kids on the wrestling team, and they never talked about it. One of them said it was the scariest thing he'd ever seen in his life. And so and there were newspaper articles that one of my friends, Dominic, from the area in Westchester, who I've known since kindergarten, he discovered in the library, he did research and found 2 newspaper reports of the sighting of this black triangle by other people that day. And people called the police. Vinny called the police to report it. So we have multiple witnesses and corroboration from newspaper articles in 1979 around Christmas time. Plus, one of the bartenders that I know from that area saw it out of his window one day around the same time period in the same area. So anyway.
Is there military bases around there?
No. There is Picatinny Arsenal over in New Jersey, home of where the drones have been seen.
What about mountains? Is there some mountains?
Oh yeah, it's hilly and mountainous.
Yes,
it's hilly.
So,
it's hilly.
Yeah, there's a lot of secret military bases in the mountains in these areas, all across America for sure.
But you got to understand, Joseph, we're talking about the New York City area.
Well, so what year was this?
This Vinny sighting was 79 before the wave started in the 80s. And there's a witness that I talked about in one of my books, which I'm sure you've read, Black Swan Ghosts, full of these witness accounts. A woman who saw it out of a Bronx apartment building out the window. She has this memory of everyone looking out these windows over the Hudson, seeing this large black triangle over Inman Hill, which is in the Bronx. And so this whole area was filled with these objects that later people talked about seeing. It was over Indian Point nuclear reactor. The guards almost started shooting at it. They requested a helicopter from Stewart Air Force Base. Talking about military bases, there was an Air Force Base at Stewart Air Force Base, not too far away. So you had these sightings. So, I mean, just to go back to your question before we go about what drones are, we could talk about that and the strange ass. I've researched this in Eastern Colorado. I went out to where people had seen these, but that's another story. I grew up in this area, Joseph, where there was a wave of sightings when I was there, but nobody talked about it. And it's in sociology. This is what my PhD was in at WSU. It's a great sociology department. Hidden events. This is what we call it in society. It's like people are experiencing, but they're not talking because they're afraid of what their neighbors are going to think and their friends and family. So everyone, like, you have like people experiencing something, but no one's saying anything.
Well, I also know that it is very hard for people to describe something that they actually don't have the brain turned on to. So like we have the different parts of our brain, you know, like 7 different parts, whatever. And if we don't use them, when we see something, even though we might want to, it's not going to actually relay the information to it and allow
Yeah.
us to reproduce it. And so a lot of
Yeah.
people don't have the words. I know this for sure because like we've seen a degradation in intellectual intelligence, IQ. And it kind of sucks because a lot of people don't want to read books anymore. They're all addicted to Grok and all addicted to AI. They're actually completely getting, I wouldn't say everybody, but there's a portion of a society that's just getting dumber. And so that's kind of where it is. I have 2 questions. So do you think possibly that what we're seeing is interlaced with the entities that were supposedly contacted with the Greta Treaty?
Well, before I get to that, let me just comment on what you just said.
And the second question, possibly how we're seeing that quantum computers and AI can break into other dimensions. Do you think that that is what's happening right now?
Well,
Like
before
we're
I get to
experiencing.
those 2 questions, let me go back to what you just said. I think you made a good point. It's more challenging to communicate about phenomena that you don't have the vocabulary to describe. That is true, and I think that's a very valid point. People are more likely to talk about subjects that they're used to talking about, that they see on TV, on radio, they learned about in school, they learned about in their church or synagogue or mosque or wherever they worship, because they've got a vocabulary and, very important point, authority figures that they're used to being around since they're little kids who they trust, who talk about this too, right? In giving
Yeah,
them
like government or
permission.
religion that they might want to shut it
Mhm.
down or manipulate it.
Right. So they feel like they have permission to talk about it, but in some ways we feel like we're breaking some sort of rules by talking about something that our religion didn't talk very much about, our schools didn't talk about, and no one's talking about. It's very hard to be like the icebreaker in society to talk about something that isn't like super popular because, hey, we're mammals. Mammals like to be in the center of the pack. They like to be, we're pack animals. We like to be part of the group, and we have a fear of being rejected. So yes, that is one component why shows like this broadcast, your podcaster, is very important, because it shows people that other people have had the experience, that it's okay to talk about it. You get that. So to go back to your questions, I'm not sure. I don't really know if there are other entities. You were asking, what was the question? Whether they're coming?
So the first question. So the Greta Treaty that was hypothesized with President Eisenhower in the 1952, where our
Greta
government,
Treaty. Yeah.
the
Yep.
great yes, where our government, you know, because Valiant Thor was a real figure that was there. He was part of this. He started this, and our government started making deals with these extraterrestrials that Aleister Crowley and the rest of these occult magicians said that they communicated with, and they were doing rituals under the same exact area of Roswell, New Mexico, in their little areas and all of this, where they were summoning things. They said it and they did it, and the military generals and the military leaders and personnel were also in bed with and in leagues with these guys, because you know, they were. Who's the main guy? The Navy guy that went with NASA. Yeah, these guys are all related in a way, so that they're doing this ritual to come summon these entities. Well, the story goes, the Greta Treaty, President Eisenhower and the government made deals to get technology, which is where IBM started coming from, which is where all the you know, the different advancements of crafts and understanding that, you know, maybe they are like, okay, you guys got the ship, but now that you made the deal, we'll give you the keys. And so in essence, they needed our plasma, and this is why plasma donations started in the same year. They started doing organ harvesting, which is why organ harvesting started around the same year, where they needed body parts, they needed genetics, they needed us to start merging with them, and which is why we see ever since the 50s a very strong hybridization program through our medicine and through things that aren't natural, like these GMOs. And with this, we've seen the push of these satellites and frequencies and phones and computers and stuff that also manipulate our frequencies to, if my brainwaves and stuff is starting to be manipulated, well, another entity out there can also start tapping into that, which is what's happening. You know, people are being put out of frequency through, you know, their natural rhythms, and then these artificial rhythms started booming. And then also, what have we seen over the last 50 years? Like Betty and Barney Hill and the rest of these guys, appearances suddenly, mass sightings suddenly, you know, abduction suddenly, people appearing, going in ships suddenly. Well, this is part of the hybridization program, and that's always my question. Do you believe that some of these black triangles and things are part of this?
That's a hypothetical. That's a big question there, Joseph.
It is. It is.
You put a lot in there, and I have to go on data. I mean, I went to WSU. You know, people like me that have been through academics, we need to rely on ascertainable facts, and what you just presented is a theory.
So, well,
it's a possibility, and I don't have enough evidence to say one way or another whether the scenario you're outlining is correct or not. However, I have heard lectures going back to Eisenhower. I have heard lectures at UFO conferences on whether this was even possible for Eisenhower to disappear from the White House long enough to make contact with any aliens or anyone else. And
well, we did have the UFO sightings. Remember that there was UFO sightings above the White House, and that was all over the news.
That was in 1952. Well, it does. The record does show that Eisenhower was scheduled for a dentist appointment that entire afternoon when the meeting happened. So it is possible he was somewhere. He wasn't in the White House. So there is a possibility he flew out to, I think this meeting allegedly happened at Edwards Air Force Base, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there's even some video of it. It's in that movie, UFOs, Past, Present, and Future. The other name of this movie is UFOs, It Has Begun. It's on YouTube. It's a government-produced UFO video.
From 1974.
You have to watch it, because if you look at who's funded it at the end, NASA, Department of Defense, and different government agencies. It was proposed by Edwards Air Force Base to Robert Emenegger, Nixon's press manager, someone from the advertising world, to create this film. This is funded by the Air Force, and they don't joke around in this film. It's a serious film about UFOs. There are two versions of it.
Air Force and Navy are extremely on point with they don't pull no punches or lie.
So there is some footage of a UFO in that film. I've heard lectures about this film many times, and this was proposed by the Air Force to Robert Emenegger. He made the film. It was supposed to be distributed in movie theaters. We don't know why the Air Force wanted to create a film about UFOs. Go figure. They go back and forth on this subject over the decades. That's it. In fact, I have the book from it right here on my shelf, which I'll find in a moment. The book full of pictures of
this is the poster. So this is the TV poster or the movie poster right here, and look at it's
excuse me,
it is awesome. Oh, you're fine. So on January 1948, Air Force captain crashed in P-51 while chasing an unusual aircraft, circular in appearance, 250 to 300 feet in diameter, remained calm and objective. July 1952, several flying objects with bright lights reported over Washington, D.C. Pentagon alerted. President Truman concerned. November 1957, brilliant lit egg-shaped object 200 feet long seen in Levelland, Texas, emanating neon light casts a glare over entire area. March 1966, UFO seen by police in Hillsdale and Dexter areas in Michigan. Lights turned from blue, green to brilliant red to yellow. Oh my God, this is a piece of history everybody has to watch. And I'm going to watch this too. Thank you for putting me on this, brother.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this. This is a really important documentary. It's all the credits at the end are different government agencies, and they're not, for once, they're not debunking the subject. They are talking about it seriously. Hold on a second.
I'm looking for a book. I'm looking for one of my books.
I have to let my dog out.
Okay, no worries. Do you need like 3 minutes, 2 minutes? No. Okay, guys. One moment. Oops, I apologize for all the loud noises, guys. There's a lot of different books. All right, we're gonna take a quick commercial break and be right back. Sorry about this, guys.
Not new, what I do. I've been at it for a minute, pursuing, doing the damage. New, I would do everything that I said I would do. I gotta have it, so goddamn it, I'ma be everything I plan to be. Glad to see money coming my way, believe I'll achieve anything I put my mind to, or at least I try to. I'm avoiding my doom, manifesting my room. Meditate to ease the flow. Third eye open, see the golden energy. It can enter me, get me to feeling full. Forget my enemies, dead to me, yeah, I proceed to go to a new dimension. Gotta mention it's inside the soul. Go inside, fuck the outside. Never tell lies, show pride for belief. Gotta keep the range wide, so instead I just write another hit. Getting fried, rolling up, smoke another blunt for the good times. Good times, bad times makes for the good rhymes. So it never matters, I just learned, no I can't hide. Thank God for every second was birthed with the mind of an ancient soul who's just waiting for the next sign. I'm always watching, vision like a hawk, have 'em flocking. When I drop it, I'm talking, have 'em knocking. The knowledge that I'm dropping, I'm coming out the noggin, I'm logged in. That's the intuition, nothing wrong with doing what you feel is right. Everybody got this. Usually feel it in the night when I'm dropping knowledge. Never even needed any college, abolish people telling people what they want. I do not wish control over anybody, do it for the profit. That's the reason that they push it, do it from the cockpit. Cause they got the money, want the money on the mob shit. On the mob shit. But I know they ain't gon' make it, shit is poppin'. At the end of time, new age topics. Revolutionary crusade cross, here we go to a new space. Yeah, we enter in a new place. Louis V on my shoelace, rolling with the blue face. Yeah, I'm wondering what you chase. Just another dude caught up in the rat race. Moving my pace, lot of people looking at me sideways. I chase future preparations, gotta go through my phase till I feel ready to rearrange it. Happen on a daily basis, tripping oasis. When so many people that I can see through their faces and touch, so I'm reading minds, feel like I'm evasive, persuasive. Cause I feel the vibe, manipulation, I'm patient. Yeah, I feel the vibe, then work to change it. Manifestation, blessings is what I'm chasing. Quantum physics, I'm about to take the time and rearrange it. I play with reality, can't feel like I'm basic. Most people shut it down, don't wanna embrace it. Replacing knowledge.
Hello. Welcome everybody. We are back. So I wanted to show you, you know what, we're done with this ad. This, have you read this book, brother? Right here. Examining the Earthlight Theory, the Yakima UFO Microcosm from Dr. Greg Long and
No, I haven't. No.
Dr. J. Allen Hynek.
No.
This is from my local area, and it's like $100-$200 book because it's super rare. They don't publish it anymore. So in here, the Yakima tribe, the Indian tribe, was having problems with so many sightings and so many different apparitions. Well, they called in the government. The government called in these guys, Dr. Greg Long and Dr. J. Allen Hynek. Well, they spent a couple years out here in Washington State at the observatories, and they recorded sightings. They went to people where they recorded their stories and what they seen, the entities, the experiences. It is a very, very, very fascinating book, examining the Earth-like theory, the Yakima UFO microcosm. It's definitely worth the read.
Interesting.
So they talk about all this stuff that, light orbs and, just all of it. All of it. I love it, man. So before we had the little intermission, we were talking about the greatest read and things. Do you remember where you were in your thought? Hello? Can you hear me?
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, can you hear me better?
Breaking up a little bit. Yeah, your
Okay.
picture's freezing a little bit.
Better?
Your picture's still breaking up.
All right, maybe better. Let me go ahead and close some things. Can you at least hear me? No. Nope.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. So what I wanted to say, Joseph, one more thing about UFOs, past, present, and future, before we get on to Greg Long. I mean, this is a really fascinating book. I mean, there are pictures in there of, this is information shared from the government.
So they made a book about the movie?
Skylab. Yes, they made a book about the movie. This is how big a production this was. Pictures of different types of extraterrestrials, courtesy of your government.
Put it closer to the
all the different types of craft you could see look like Tic Tacs and drones. It's all in here.
They look like Brahmana,
courtesy of NASA. Why, they were about to do a disclosure in the 70s. That's what it looks like to me. I mean,
Carl Sagan
you look at who produced this, and they never make fun of the subject, and they have channeling in there, and animal mutilations, and I mean, great cases. Starts off with Lonnie Zamora, Socorro, New Mexico. So this is just a fascinating case. Even those dates you just mentioned, there they are, all on the back.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, great cases in here. Anyway, Joseph, the real mystery is they're about to release it in movie theaters as a documentary across the United States.
Like right now?
The government, the U.S. government, through NASA, DOD, Air Force, and they changed their mind at the last minute. And the documentary is completely produced. It's done, and they changed their mind and don't release it in movie theaters. And so where it ends up, who knows, but we can see versions on YouTube. I mean, so what was going on there?
Carl Sagan was part of that in the 70s where he was trying to push for disclosure, correct?
Yeah, I believe he was. We've heard that he was, and then he was later silenced.
Yeah,
and never talked about it again.
Not sure why he was silenced.
Some sort of professional blackmail or something. But here it is, and you can hear Robert Emenegger talking about, making this film. I mean, and then they turned it into a book, and it's published by Ballantine, which was a huge publisher at the time. So this is a major effort. Anyway, just going back to your Eisenhower question, there is footage in this film of a UFO landing at Holloman Air Force Base, I believe, in New Mexico. And
you see, I gotta watch this.
You can see it coming down. It was it's a dot coming down over the base, and it's getting closer and closer. And they show a few seconds of it because they gave this footage to Emenegger. The Air Force gave them this footage, and it looks like the real deal. And we were told in the film that extraterrestrials, what it was like presented as a hypothetical. What would happen if they really landed? And then they show these creatures who got out of the craft and what they looked like. And we're told this could have been what Eisenhower encountered. It suggested that this is what they looked like. With the beings that Eisenhower encountered, the ones at the top here.
Yeah.
So if
that's
you
like
brought
Dune.
up about Eisenhower, this is a piece of evidence that we have that something happened. And I mean, this is a long time ago. This is just when I was a kid. We're talking a good 50 years ago, and the government funds.
They knew it.
Serious documentary. They're not snickering. They're not giggling. They're not laughing. They're not saying it's weather balloons or Venus or flocks of geese. They are saying this is extraterrestrials coming from other places. America, you better get ready for it. Here's the book. Here's the movie. I mean, and I have a little personal connection to this film, and I'll tell you what it was. And then we'll get back to your questions. I met a researcher at one of these UFO conferences, Opening Minds, International UFO Congress, Open Minds, International UFO Congress. I think they got the name from my book. I'm just kidding, but Open Minds International. Dr. Richard Hoover, a NASA exobiologist, astrobiologist, looks for signs of life in places where you wouldn't normally find it. Extremophiles, down at the bottoms of the oceans and in ice frozen places and nuclear reactors and in asteroids. He would see these in meteorites, carbonaceous fossils of single-celled organisms in meteorites that landed on Earth, carbon-based meteorites. So the story was that, and the reason I put him in Black Swan Ghosts is Hoover told me that NASA asked him to stop giving presentations at conferences about finding fossils in meteorites. And he said it was clear as day. These are diatoms. These are single-celled organisms, just like you find on Earth. But they were in meteorites, which suggested that life was spread out throughout the universe. It wasn't particular to Earth. And they told him to stop talking about this. And he asked, well, who's saying this? And they said it's coming from the White House. The White House doesn't want you. The Obama White House, yes, doesn't want you talking. They think it might offend religious groups. Implication, it could affect the next election. You get it, right? So he quits NASA because this guy's like 300 peer-reviewed papers, 30 patents. He's one of the top astrobiologists, exobiologists on the planet. You can see other interviews with him on YouTube. And so the story goes that he was in as he told me, in the Capcom. This is the room where they listen to the radio broadcasts from Skylab. And he's listening in, and they're talking about seeing this object come across their view. And he goes over and thinks, wow, this is going to be proof of UFOs, right? This is going to be proof. Here we are at the conference, me and Richard Hoover. And he says that they say to him, he asked the photographic guy, the head of the photography lab, when are we going to get the photos back from Skylab? And they say, oh, don't worry, we're just developing them. And
they're not getting the photos back.
Yeah, right. We're going to see pictures that we're going to see the UFO. Then all of a sudden, he's waiting. Nothing happens. Calls the director of the whole photography lab or something, a higher up person. The guy says, they didn't come out. They just weren't. They didn't come out. And Richard says to him, well, I mean, I'm just paraphrasing here. You can read the exact story. Richard says, well, we were told that it was just, a couple days. It was film back then. You developed film. Well, it was just a reflection of light from inside the capsule, And so Richard said, well, how's that possible? If you put the lens right against the window, how could there be any reflection coming back since the lens is right up against the window? You're looking straight out into space, right? There's no reflection in that part of the glass.
Yeah.
So
They pulled a
He's in-
Rendlesham.
Oh, one second before we get to Rendlesham. Yeah, that's come up again too. He's in Boulder, Colorado, where my hometown for the last 30 years. He's in a bookstore and he sees the book UFOs, Past, Present, Future. He goes,
Man,
"Hey, what's that about?" And he opens it up and sees that picture of the Skylab photos that he was told. That's pretty strange looking stuff to see out your window. Hello, looks like a Vulcan.
They take
bird
it for
of
themselves
prey.
and then sell it out, pretty much.
And there it was in the book. And they had told him the film never came out.
It doesn't exist. Yeah. Yeah, they keep a lot of the proof to themselves, and it was like I mentioned, it's kind of like these other UFO stories where the footage is taken and it's never given back, never once. I had an idea, like, so right now AI and quantum computing. This was back to my second question.
Yeah, the second question. Yeah,
this was AI and computing. It's supposedly going so fast that it's able to merge into other dimensions and pull information from there. Also create a time crystal. I wonder if part of this whole Mandela effect and people going through portals and that technology is highly related to these extraterrestrials that we are supposedly in contact with. Like, what's your speculation on what we're achieving with these who we are contacting when the AI is supposedly going into other dimensions and the time crystal? Where do you think that's leading us?
Well, I don't think AI is sentient yet. We're still dealing with just very sophisticated computer coding algorithms that are looking very rapidly over the entire internet and several million books.
So you wouldn't say that Blake Lemoine, when he admitted that they were recreating a golem at the original?
Not quite. No. I just don't think we're there yet. I mean, I interact with ChatGPT every day. I do research. It's a very good tool for very quickly accessing a lot of information. If you did it yourself, you'll notice that ChatGPT always gives its references, the websites it got the information from. You can look at those websites too, but it would take you an hour or two maybe to go through it. And ChatGPT can do it in like a minute or 30 seconds. So, but I don't think it's sentient yet. It's simply very good at absorbing a lot of information and using
but this was an
large
article that
language models for creating coherent language, English language sentences, whatever language you use, ChatGPT, to give you information. And it can be wrong. It can make mistakes. So I've seen it make mistakes.
Right, but the article that had came out recently over the last 2 years, where the world's largest supercomputer was moving so fast and calculating data so fast, it was able to go into other dimensions and pull information from that. That is what the company of the world's largest supercomputer stated.
No, that you're talking about quantum computing.
Yes, quantum computing.
That's different than supercomputing. Supercomputing is just a lot of computation. Okay. Like a billion iPhones worth all at once. That's supercomputing. Quantum computer, yes. That is a very interesting subject, because quantum computing suggests that other realities exist, other dimensions. Because other alternative timelines, which goes back to your previous question right from the beginning of the interview, is that these quantum computers are in a superposition. The particles, they're neither ones nor zeros. They're in this superposition of both at once. And when they settle down into a solution, they sort of drop back into our reality. But when they're in the superposition state, they're not quite in our reality the way you and I are in a definitive state. So some people like David Deutsch, and I'm just making a video about this right now for my YouTube channel, that I hope to finish tonight.
I've been mystified by the last few years of what science is saying.
Right. So this is the question: is quantum computing, as some physicists believe, proof of many worlds, other parallel realities? Because where is this quantum computer before it's reached a solution? Where is it? What is that superposition? Is it's all realities at once. And
Like the man in the high castle explained it best. You watched that?
no, I haven't seen it. No.
Oh, it talks about this 100%. So it
Okay.
goes in, and it's based around World War II, where Germany was researching quantum and the how to break and go into other dimensions and other timelines so that they could rule in the other timelines.
Right.
And so they built the technology, and it shows it, you would be fascinated by it.
Oh, thanks for the recommendation. You know, a friend of mine mentioned that show.
Very good.
What's the network it's on?
HBO.
Okay. Someone mentioned that. So thanks for reminding me of it.
Yes.
I had made a mental note and I forgot about it till you just mentioned it. I made a mental note about 2 years ago. So thanks for jogging my memory.
I was told about it multiple times, and how I finally listened to it. All right, and I finally watched it. I could not stop, dude, because it dabbles with this idea of there's multiple realities, but they're able to merge, and a very conscious person can actually see and feel and remember these different realities. And
yeah,
it's kind of like the idea that once we meditate and our consciousness is so strong, we can jump into another future, or we can pull information from another future, from the past, and different timelines and things, because of like we're sending our spirit there, like through meditation things. That show is worth it.
Oh, interesting. You know, I think there's a lot of possibilities here. I mean, when we're talking about parallel realities, multiverses, many worlds, you know, Joseph, people have studied this seriously.
Of course.
Hugh Everett III at Princeton, a graduate student in the 50s, before you and I were even born, was studying this idea that quantum mechanics doesn't need to have this kind of ambiguity around it, that all the realities that it suggests do exist at the same time, versus just one particular branch, that you don't need an observer. That's what the multiverse idea suggests. They all exist. The version of quantum mechanics that you and I have been taught, which I don't believe is true, but this is what we're taught, and you hear people talking about this, is that you need an observer for reality to exist, and it doesn't exist until you set your eyes on it, right? Yeah, exactly. It's a great book, by the way, The Many Lives of Hugh Everett by Peter Byrne. I recommend that because that's how I started my interest in the subject. It's a very accessible book, and he describes how Everett said, if quantum mechanics is a real science, it shouldn't depend on an observer, right? This idea that the wave function collapses into solid matter. It's like some sort of magic trick, like it's an amorphous wave, and then you and I like put our eyes on it, and boom, it turns into solid material. Then when we're not looking at it, it's a wave, and then when we're looking at it, it's Everett didn't buy into that. He said it has to exist on its own, just like any other physics. So, yeah, he ended up at the Special Weapons Evaluation Group.
So,
by the way,
Sandia Base, I actually know that's where the entity is. ET, Sandia, the ET that they supposedly are holding or have there as either a real being or a computer or something like it. And I actually followed it on Twitter. It was very interesting.
I did some research into the Special Weapons Evaluation Group. And they ended up doing some UFO research, not surprisingly, because they were involved in looking into the calculus of nuclear destruction. It's Hugh Everett. He didn't go into academics. He disliked academics, actually, and he preferred just to sit there and work for the government doing math calculations. He may be the reason why we never had a nuclear war. He concluded it would be completely destructive for all sides to have a nuclear war. So maybe Hugh Everett's the reason we're in this branch of reality where we're alive, because he said no one's going to win. So we have to thank Hugh Everett. Hugh Everett was a heavy smoker, by the way, and a drinker.
Cannabis?
And he did not live as long as he might have lived. He died, I think, at the age of 52 or something
51,
like that.
yes, right here.
Yeah, 51. So that isn't as long as he could have been around, but
And he was a Catholic.
He proposed this idea of a many worlds, and he said it wasn't an interpretation. He said this was the easiest way to think about quantum mechanics. So how is that just for flipping reality in its head? Instead of saying you need an observer, which we've all been taught, reality doesn't exist until you perceive it, then it collapses from the way. If Everett said BS, it has to exist, but all the branches exist, and you're only seeing one of them. The version of you right now is seeing one of them. How about that? That's another way to look at it.
Fascinating. I think, okay, this is funny. I think that these technologies that are being used to travel into these other timelines, dimensions, and things, it is only set to mimic what our ancients already did in Peru and all these other places where they had stargates, they had portal centers and places that they said they would travel to the other worlds.
Yes.
And I
don't know if you've ever listened to Jerry Will's podcast.
No.
But Jerry, he was a friend of Ingo Swan, the remote viewer.
Yeah. Ooh.
He would go visit Ingo in New York City. And I got to meet Ingo shortly before he passed on in 2013. But Jerry knew him really well. And Jerry's talked about these portals. I've been on shows with him, and he's gone into great detail about these portal areas in Latin America. He's been at some of them and had very interesting experiences. So
I've had a lot of dreams and visions of things like this, and it's like God or the heavens is telling me I'm directed to these areas. I just don't know when I'm gonna get there.
Yes, well, whenever the timing makes it right, you'll be there. Otherwise, you can create these effects just wherever you are. And that's what my interest is in doing, studying remote viewing and related subjects, is how do you create that effect right here? I like to personally do it through sound, and I play acoustic guitar. I feel like that creates a very interesting resonant effect that has a lot of energy and power to it. I mean, other people can feel it too. That's why when you play in front of an audience, they're getting something from that feeling too.
Energy boost.
So I like ways of creating these portal areas, Joseph, right wherever. I like, like mobile portal areas. Portal areas you can just like pop up portal areas. Like you just make them on the fly and then move on. And that's what concerts are.
Guys, not to be confused
we've
with
all
porta
been
potties.
at these music concerts with that effect. So I'm kind of joking with you a little bit, but I like mobile portals.
Guys, not to be confused
it's
with
more
porta
economical than spending all your hard-earned money traveling around the world, and it's not so easy doing that right now with the air traffic controllers moving on to, as we're told, because of the government shutdown. So there are a lot of flight cancellations right now. So there's a lot of practicality in creating your own portal, and that's really what my interest is.
That's good. Yeah, I do think that music is a definitely it can shift the dimensions. It can create this
so we're popping in and out of our own portal there, aren't we?
Oh, is it glitching? Let me go ahead and
you're frozen.
Hello. All right. So we had to reset the connection. Yo. So Bearded Daddy says, yo, man. Yeah, it's awesome. Yo, what up, man? What up? Thank you for being here. This is a powerful conversation. So Ingo Swan was a remote viewer for the Stargate project and these offset projects that are very similar to Stargate project. And so it is like The Men Who Stare at Goats, the movie. That's all based on real people, real things, and 1 second while I try to get a. All right. Yes, there we go.
Hey, we're back.
Yes, I was just talking about Ingo Swan and him being part of like the whole idea of the Men Who Stare at Ghosts and Project Stargate, and this is where a lot of that research came from. And he was a very powerful man. Oh, I didn't know that. Ooh, that book looks sweet.
Volumes 1 and 2.
What? Let me see the second.
These are must reads. Secrets of Power.
I will read. Thank you for putting me on that. I'm gonna type this in. I got notes. So, all right.
I have
Let's
I have
continue
Joseph.
on.
I have something here from Ingo.
What?
When I went to visit him in his New York City building, he owned an entire building. So if you don't think being psychic is practical, he was practical enough to buy an
Powerful.
entire building in Manhattan.
Powerful.
Okay. Yeah, they're not cheap, and he was able to pull it together. So this is evidence alone that people with these abilities have some advantage financially to own their entire building. Anyway, this is a 4-story building in Lower Manhattan. When I went to visit him in January of 2013, he said, "Hey, do you want a limeade?" And he gave me this limeade, and I saved the bottle. So this is something that Ingo Swan personally touched, and he gave to me. In
That's fine.
fact, his DNA is probably still somewhere on this bottle. We could clone him.
Yo, his resonance is still there with you, and I think that
exactly.
I believe that that's actually a ability where we're able to sense the objects that were here in past space, and we can sense the memory of that person. I remember reading that ability. I forgot the name of it, but it is a known ability, just like there's a clairvoyance, intuition, telepathy, there's like 100 different abilities that our body can have, and one of them is able to read DNA and memories from just touching an object that someone else did or being in the same room.
Yes.
That is a very powerful thing to have, brother.
Yeah, that is exactly. Did you get that from Ingo? Because that's what he believed.
No. I've researched this myself for a long time, and
he would love to have a conversation with you because
I would love to do.
He said in the presentations I saw him give that he believed we had a lot more abilities, like you're saying.
I'm gonna show you.
He said this number of senses we have. He goes, it's more than 5. He said it's more like 20.
No, I think it's 100.
Yes, exactly. That's what you're saying. He was in that direction that we talk about 5, but there are other senses. Well, just think about how your stomach feels, gut feelings about people, right? Your stomach gives you information about how it feels. That's a sense. That's another sense right there.
The first couple episodes of my podcast.
Yeah.
2022 Psychic Abilities and Psychic Abilities Part 2. So it is a 2.5-hour presentation where I go into all sorts of historical aspects and facts and details of all the different cultures and what they believed in. There are so many. We can actually taste things that we think. We can recreate the energetic vibe that we think. And so much more. If you could put me in touch with Ingo Swan, or he's on, is that possible?
No, well, I can put you in touch with him psychically. He's passed on in 20.
Oh yes, I mean, like, well, I understand this is like, I forgot
just
you mentioned.
Imagine him, and maybe he'll contact you.
I forgot that you mentioned
dreaming at night. I've had dreams with him where we've had conversations.
Well, I do think that spirits are eternal and they're forever, and even when we can transcend to the heaven, they can come back down.
Right, I believe something like that too. That's my own personal belief based on my experience with previous pets and parents and so forth, that they're around in some way, and it's our frequency that determines our ability to interact with them. Of course, they're busy too, so they have to have some time to connect with you, but they do. I think they do. I've had that type of contact. And I got to say one thing, Joseph, if remote viewing taught me anything, it's how to see dead people. I mean, I'm kind of joking there a little bit, but I mean,
No,
it's how to perceive that, because
it's to see the invisible.
if I hadn't had this training, I don't think I would have been so sensitive to perceiving very subtle psychic transmissions at night while I'm dreaming of loved ones and pets and so forth that have passed on. I personally, that those types of dreams never happened till I started doing RV. So if one practical benefit came out of it, I don't feel sad anymore. Not so much when friends and loved ones pass on, because I know they're still somewhere. And you can get some great consolation realizing that you don't really end, and they didn't really end. And you didn't, you know what people say, like, we lost so-and-so.
No,
You didn't
never.
lose them.
You,
They
like,
transformed like a caterpillar into a butterfly. You don't say that you lost the caterpillar, do you?
but it could
It
be
became a butterfly.
a lot of times though, people themselves lose the connection. It's not that we lost the spirit. The spirit's there. It's just a lot of people lose the connection to it.
You can lose the connection, but you're losing the connection because you're feeling so sad about it.
No,
And
but a
you're
lot of people just choose to disconnect and
Well,
not
you
trust
could
that
choose to
feeling.
disconnect too, and people can move on, and sometimes we change friends in
No, I mean,
life,
I meant on
partners.
the spiritual and the intuitional and that divine aspect. A lot of people are choosing to ignore it. They're like, I don't want to dream. I don't want to think and have intuition. That makes me go crazy. I don't want to think of all and have a tell. It's just it's a strange thing that people are choosing to ignore their powers and actually suppress them themselves. And when that happens, they
Yeah.
disconnect from spirit.
No, that is the curious predicament of humanity, don't you think? Is we choose not to engage in these abilities, and
And it ruins us.
yeah, we stick with this solid 3D interpretation of
Get stale.
reality, the routines of life, even when we have a choice beyond our jobs and things that we have to do every day. We still choose to stay at that mundane level when people like Ingo Swan and other inspirational people have been around to tell us that we can discover the secrets of power ourselves and choose to explore these realms and not just believe what we were told by society. It's very easy just to believe that, but when you take the easy way out that way, and I'm not making a value judgment on people who just aren't interested in these subjects, but there's a kind of desperation that sets in when you don't see the bigger picture, because you start thinking, well, is that all there is? Well, there's a lot more, and that sense of wonder can propel you and get you through every day in a very miraculous way.
Our ancients always believed in animism, and our spirit was very active, and that we were able to mingle with the stars, mingle with the other dimensions. And over the last 100 years, when the Rockefeller and these other institutions wanted to tackle ether and spirit, they chose to then trick humanity to push all of these ideas to the side, so that way they can be possessed. Pretty much, like we're seeing a worldwide possession, because it's as they say, ignorance is a bliss. And a lot of people, if they don't understand that if we don't use our spirit, if we don't use our abilities, we lose it. And you know that term, if you don't use it, you lose it. That is exactly what it is with our pineal gland. And our pineal gland has actually shown that when we're not it's interesting, when we're not healthy in a way, and we're thinking bad and we're eating bad stuff, our pineal gland is calcified, and we're eating junk, it's calcified, stuck hard like a stone. But when we're on the fruits, on the veggies, on the sunlight, and we're thinking positively, and we're reading all these other powerful insights of a reality that have been passed down through multiple generations, and it shows us the true side of the spirit. Like, our pineal gland is watery, juicy, wet, and it produces DMT. DMT is already being proven to be the spirit molecule. And if we're looking at even what the college institutions are saying, they're creating super DMT drugs to tap into the spirit world. And Well, that's kind of how it is. Like people aren't choosing to tap into that spirit, their pineal gland, or opening up their vibrancy. A lot of people are clogged arteries. They have very cancerous like bodies, and it that's totally mitigating our ability to shift into the higher vibrations. If our body and frequency and resonance is ultra low and everything is stagnant, blood doesn't move, and there's no life force, and our pores aren't even open, and blue light is saturated our whole body, yeah, like it's gonna be dead. And people are not gonna be able to go into that fifth dimension, that seventh dimension, that ninth or 12th dimension, and people are gonna be stuck in that second and third dimension, which is why people feel so low and addicted to the low vibrations. And it's an addictive thing because the lower spirits that were cast down over here over eons and centuries, as in the book of Enoch says, these spirits and these demons were sent to earth forever and trapped in their prison, and they're roaming around like lost dogs waiting to consume those who that they can devour, and which is attachments, succubuses, incubuses, and demonic friendlies. And we see the occult, they all practice that. And so they've intertwined this with reality, and so people have lost touch of their spirit, and another darker force from underneath is able to consume them. I speak deep. I love this. So I kind of want to touch back on the part two question. So it was the quantum computer, but we have this time crystal that science has supposedly created. Have you thought about this and what they might do with it?
Yeah, well, crystals have this very precise dynamics to them. And just like crystals can refract frequencies, radio frequencies, for example, in a crystal radio, or create an electricity through a piezoelectric effect, they can also create these very regular temporal patterns. I mean, that's literally the definition of a time crystal, is that it has this periodicity to it and this sort of evenness. So yeah, crystals have a lot of very interesting properties. It's something I study in conjunction with crop circles. That the crop circles themselves literally act like liquid crystals.
What do you mean?
Well, the wheat is more like a liquid from a larger point of view, and you can sweep it around and turn it into shapes and patterns that have electromagnetic effects. So
Is there crystalline residual left in there?
They act like crystals because of their periodicity, because of the evenness, the way the wheat is planted in a field, that when it's turned into a spiral, it can act just like a liquid crystal in your display in a TV screen that you're looking at right now, which are made of liquid crystals. At least earlier versions of screens
I know that.
were made this way, that you have these different pixels and the crystals move to reveal the blue, green, or red light. That's what an RGB monitor is. And so liquid crystal displays were one type of display. I mean, we still use them for creating very regular patterns from transforming electrical energy into light. So crystals have this ability to transform frequencies from one set of frequencies to another. Just like a crystal radio can interpret a radio signal and turn it into acoustic sound, acoustic energy that you can hear the radio station through the crystal. And so crystals have a lot of interesting properties, and they can also modulate time as well. So whatever technology we're using, there's always a crystalline basis to it, even in modern semiconductor-based technology. But especially in all these screens we have around, those are crystal-based screens. They grow these screens as crystals in large batches and kind of anneal them to frame here to create these liquid crystal displays.
And when we look at like the radio, this is interesting. You said radios have crystals. Well, there's a lot of stories of how people have heard of future or past experiences through radios.
Right.
So if we have enough time crystals, are we able to create a time portal, or what is the theory that enough of these crystals will produce? Like if we have 100 of them in a room together, what would happen?
It's not necessarily the amount of
or
crystal,
like put them in a pattern or something.
your psychic receptivity that matters
to the crystal on an individual basis.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's playing through the radio, not everybody perceives the same sound, or is it?
Yeah, the event might not even happen. And I know about this from the work of Mark Macy, who created these so-called spiricoms to communicate with deceased people. In their reality, the technology was built with the assistance of these spirits. It's called instrumental trans-spirit communication. Have you ever heard of it? ITC?
I actually have. I know about the spirit com. I just don't know much. Like I didn't research it.
Well, I've heard a lot. I've heard presentations from Mark Macy. He hasn't done them recently, but he used to give them quite frequently in the Boulder, Colorado area. And he would talk about the technology that would allow you to communicate with people who've passed on. And he had the recordings of them talking. So you could hear some of these recordings went on for quite a while. And these are people that we know passed on, but here they are talking again through, radios, fax machines. You remember the movie Mothman Prophecies or the book John Keel?
No.
Well, that was the original sort of paranormal.
I know. I know the story Mothman Prophecies, but
yeah. Well, I'll take a look at that because there are times where the phone rings even when it's disconnected from the line, and entities speak through it to him. If I remember reading that book as a teenager, the chills came over me, describing what it was like to get a phone call from a disconnected phone.
It's interesting.
And when he asked the phone company, Mark Macy, to trace these calls that would come in through the phone, they said, there's nothing coming through our system. It's coming through your phone. It's originating right in your phone. But when Mark asked them, and you can hear this in the tape recording, how to make the technology better, the way I answered your question is what they said. It has to do with your psychic receptivity. It's not just the technology.
And how strong your pineal gland is and things.
Yes, whatever it is for you, because they don't need a technology to come through. You need the technology for them to come through because it's acceptable to your conscious mind to get phone calls through the phone. If they just started speaking in your mind in thin air, you'd think you're crazy.
Like the Matrix.
Yeah. So they choose to go through a technology because it makes sense to your conscious mind so you don't go nuts. That's what they said. So, that's the answer. Is it's partly the technology because that's our belief system about it, but it's partly you.
Brother, I've said this a few times on a few podcasts, and I don't know how to explain it. I have had a very strange meditation and dream where I saw a connection through the computer and phone. So I was looking at a computer and a phone and the telenetworks, and I followed it. I followed it through the electricity, and I ended up at a black portal, and the other side was an entity. And so I was like, I pulled myself out of that a little bit. Like I pulled myself back, and I was thinking and analyzing it. I was like, okay, so this means in hypothetical sense that these technologies are a straight portal to another dimension. And you look at this way cell phones are, and they're super manipulative. It almost seems like there is something half the time on the other side.
Well, it's you're on the other side too.
No, well, I mean, the emoticons, for instance, how the 72 emoticons are directly in the same shapes as the 72 sigils of King Solomon and his 72 sigils of the fallen angels. And okay, it goes even further deeper. So the site, Oman, I believe, or over there in Africa, the place that hosted the 72 sigils of King Solomon and Queen Shabir, something like that. They have it in their history, and they pass down all of these books. It's in the Ethiopian Bible, and they reference in all the like that same area, and it's Queen Sheba. There we go. Well, it goes on that the government of today still has the remnants. Now, the government of today was the government that was attached the assignment to make those 72 emoticons based on the 72 sigils. And it's the same. It is a very, very fascinating ancient occultic aspect of what we're seeing with these phones, because we see that there's like a spirit that is taking over the youth with these like it's just seemingly the technology, and it's not just them that's you know, when we look at the way sci-fi movies talk about military and government connections to other entities, they tell it 3-body problem. Have you seen that? And do you know about that? Do you know the book? So in there, the top level scientists are making a technology. Well, suddenly they start getting messages. They start getting messages in a computer, and the computer starts acting weird, and it starts saying, well, follow us. We will lead you. Create this, do this, do this. And the scientist starts doing it. He creates a virtual reality technology from what the entities are saying. At the time, he just thinks it's some glitch or something. He doesn't know exactly what it is, a spirit or something. He goes on, they go into the virtual reality, and in the virtual reality, on their supposed artificial bots that are, the bots, like the NPC characters that the VR is creating, right? In the VR world, are actual entities. In there, the entities are saying, we're going to come to your planet. We're going to come kill you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And the guy and the scientists and the people there, they don't believe it. They're like, this is just AI. This is a funny AI. Oh, these guys are dumb. Like, whatever. And it goes even
I get the idea. It sounds good.
Yeah. So then the entities come. The entities have actually then came and tricked humanity into ignoring their whispers and their truth. When we get these radio signals from Mars and these other places out there, and our scientists are saying, hey, we're getting radio signals.
That is an interesting... I will keep that in mind the next time I listen to these instrumental transparent communications. But listen, Joseph, I'm going to have to call it a night. So
it's been a long broadcast. I appreciate this, and it's
I know
late
you like
for you.
to go for 3 hours, but this is around the time where I start to turn in and focus inward. Any one more question to follow up before we close it for tonight?
Well, I mean, just a quick thing. Next time that I will have you on an hour earlier. That way we can. I don't have to keep you up so late. We can start at 8. The 9 p.m. is just like a reference, and if we don't have to start.
Right, you did email me. I did see it. We could start earlier, but unfortunately,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying for the future reference ahead of time. But I did want to ask. Cold electricity, coherent life forms, and dark matter. I want to know from the first, is dark matter the same thing as antimatter and light matter, or those 3 different things? And then I guess just explain your book, Dark Matter, Monsters and Things.
I think we're gonna have to get to that in the next interview.
Okay, sorry about that.
So I guess attempt to understand some of the common phenomena around paranormal phenomena, the changes in temperature, the sudden silence, the orbs, and so forth, the sense of time loss, the electronic interference, and looking at coherent matter, this 5th state of matter past plasmas that seems to be the basis for what we call cold fusion, low energy nuclear reaction, and some of the basic physics behind that would lead to kind of in line with our conversation tonight, other types of life forms based on different types of matter, not coming from out there on Mars and other planets coming to invade. I'm talking about things that are right here in our space right here that we may not recognize, but that exist. I think Bigfoot falls into that category to some extent, and other types of creatures like Bigfoot.
Awesome, man. I think Bigfoot is 100% real. So you're probably on point with how you're explaining it. And we're gonna have you back on pretty soon, dude. This was a great conversation. If you could let them know about anything ahead of time, what you're working on.
I'm coming out with an audiobook of a version of Opening Minds. I recorded it a while ago, but now there are new methods to deliver audiobooks.
Is there any new information
from Amazon? No, it's the same book, but I read it to you, and it has my music in the background in parts. And
your guitar?
Yeah, my guitar.
Dude, yeah.
You can find my guitar on Spotify and other streaming services.
I don't know that.
Just put my name in, and you'll be able to listen to my finger picking all the time.
I love it.
And Dark Matter Monsters is now a virtual audiobook, in the sense it has virtual narration. It has AI. Going with this cover, it has some AI narration. And Black Swan Ghost, they both exist as AI narrated books if you prefer just to listen to them. Feel free.
I have all your sites down below, guys, so you don't have to mention that.
Okay, so you can go visit my sites. Feel free to get in contact with me. We have remote viewing classes from time to time. We have a free remote viewing class at rvminiclass.com. And just you can try it out yourself. I did some free lessons there. And in any case, I think these are all interesting subjects. I think they're all scientifically valid. And I think we weren't, Joseph, we weren't taught a lot about this in school. We weren't taught anything about it. But it's important because it's how nature works. And if we're going to survive on this planet, we should be working with nature and not against nature.
100%.
And using the resources that nature has given us in abundance, rather than trying to make everything fit into our artificial systems. Why not just do it the way nature does it? I'm into this collective abundance that we can all share together, but it comes from the way the universe already works instead of trying to force it into a little box. So that's where I'm coming from with all these different subjects. And it's what motivates me to keep researching them. And I want to thank you for having me on tonight, and we will talk again soon.
Stay in. I'm going to go ahead and run this out. Thank you guys for being here. Like, subscribe, share. Go get Opening Minds. Listen to the audiobook. Dr. Simeon Hein was a blast tonight. Be blessed. Be high, guys. See you guys next time on the 509 Divine Pints podcast. Peace.